I'm 87 years old, and what I believed about success for the first 52 years of my life was completely, catastrophically wrong. Not a little wrong, not slightly off, wrong in a way that cost me things I will never, ever get back. I built a career that other men envied. I made partner at 45. I was making over $400,000 a year merging companies, structuring billion-dollar deals, flying first class to cities I never actually saw because I was always in a conference room. And I genuinely believed that all of it meant something. That the scoreboard I was watching was the real one. That the man who wins at work wins at life. I was wrong. And I am standing here at 87, telling you this, because I need you to hear it before it's too late for you the way it was almost too late for me. Here's the lie I believed. I believed that success was a ladder. That if I climbed high enough, long enough, everything else would take care of itself. The marriage would be fine because I was providing. The kids would be fine because I was building a future for them. The relationships would be there waiting for me whenever I finally had time. And I wasn't alone in believing this. Every man I worked with believed it. The whole culture of that firm believed it. We reinforced it in each other every single day. 70-hour weeks were a badge. Missed dinners were dedication. Being unreachable was power. I bought into all of it completely. I was so certain I was winning. But here's what that certainty cost me. My daughter Sarah is 60 years old now. She called me this morning to check on me, like she does every day. She is attentive and kind and fiercely loyal to me, and I am grateful for every single one of those calls. But I need to tell you something that is hard to say out loud. When Sarah was 16 years old, she had a breakdown at school, anxiety. She was hospitalized for 3 days. I flew home from a deal in Chicago that I could have left entirely. I was there for 2 of those 3 days. I told myself that was good, that was present, that was showing up. I told myself that for 40 years. It was only when Sarah was in her 50s, when she finally told me, gently over dinner one night, that she remembered waiting in that hospital room wondering if I was going to come home at all, that I understood what I had actually done. I had made her feel like a disruption to my schedule. My own daughter in crisis, at 16, felt like an interruption. I'd believed I was providing. What I was actually doing was disappearing. My son Michael quit investment banking at 35 to become a high school teacher. And I want to be honest with you, I was ashamed of him. I didn't say it, but I felt it, and kids know. He could feel it. I thought he was throwing away his potential. I thought he was making a mistake I needed to quietly correct. I spent years angling toward conversations about whether he'd reconsider, whether he'd missed the window, whether he was sure. Michael retired at 55. I retired at 67. He's had 12 years of freedom that I never gave myself. He makes 3 visits a week to sit with me and watch baseball and eat whatever's in my refrigerator. He is the happiest person I know. The mistake was mine, not his. I wasted years of our relationship trying to redirect him toward a version of success that had already hollowed me out from the inside. And Linda, I have to talk about Linda. I met her in college. We married at 25. And for the first 27 years of our marriage, I was a good husband the way a contractor is a good contractor. Showed up, did the work, technically sound, fundamentally absent. She raised our children almost entirely alone. She built a home I was rarely in. She made every school play, every parent-teacher conference, every sick night, every ordinary Tuesday. And I told myself she understood. I told myself she was proud of what I was building. I told myself later, I'll be present later when the deal closes, when we make partner, when the kids are older. Later kept moving. And Linda, who loved me with a patience I did not deserve, waited. Then I had a heart attack at 52 during a client meeting. Fell out of my chair onto the carpet of a conference room in Boston while arguing about an acquisition clause. Triple bypass surgery, 6 months of recovery. And lying in that hospital bed in the first week, I am embarrassed to tell you this, I actually asked my assistant to forward my emails. That's who I was. That's how deeply I had confused the ladder for the life. But somewhere in those 6 months, the fog cleared. I looked at Linda sitting in a chair beside my hospital bed every single day she was allowed to be there. And I saw her for the first time in years, really saw her, not as the woman who managed my household, as the person who had chosen me, repeatedly, despite all the reasons not to. And I thought, if I had died in that conference room, what would I have left her with? The memory of a man who was always somewhere else? That was the moment the lie stopped working. We had 28 years after that, 28 years where I was actually present, where I put the phone down and sat at the dinner table and listened. where I drove with her through the Oregon coast with no destination because she liked to look at the water, where I told her things I'd never said out loud because I'd always been too busy performing success to be honest about what I actually felt. Those 28 years are the best years of my life, and they only happened because my heart literally stopped. I had to almost die to start living. That is a brutal exchange rate. She passed 7 years ago. Pancreatic cancer. I was 80. She was 78. I held her hand at the end and she looked at me, and I know that she knew I loved her completely. But I also carry this. She deserved that love for the full 48 years, not the last 28. The first chapter, those years I was somewhere else in body or mind, those are gone. I cannot reconstruct them. I cannot apologize into existence the moments she spent alone in our house waiting for me to come home and actually arrive. Here's what I know now that I did not know then. Achievements do not compound. Relationships do. Every year you invest in a real present relationship, it grows. Every year you neglect it, while chasing something else, it quietly diminishes. The math is that simple and that brutal. Success is not a wrong goal, but it is a wrong first goal. If you pursue connection, presence, and integrity first, success can coexist with a life worth living. If you pursue success first and try to retrofit connection later, you will always be a decade behind, apologizing for absences that cannot be filled. The people watching you work do not love you. The people at home do. This sounds obvious. I knew it abstractly, but I didn't feel it in my body until I almost didn't have a body anymore. What you tolerate becomes your legacy. Every weekend I worked, every call I took at dinner, every trip I extended by 3 days when I could have come home, I was teaching my children what they should expect from a man who loves them. I taught them that love shows up late and distracted and checks its watch. I am lucky that they forgave me. Not everyone gets that. Let me give you the math, plainly. I worked 60 to 70 hours a week for 30 years. That is approximately 90,000 hours of my life, spent in offices and airports and conference rooms. I cannot tell you what most of those hours produced that matters now. I can tell you that Sarah's high school graduation, which I attended but did not fully witness because I was mentally drafting a contract revision, took about 2 hours. I cannot get those 2 hours back. I cannot trade any of those 90,000 hours for them. Time doesn't work that way. It only moves in one direction, and it moves faster than you think. My father died at 71. He was 16 years younger than I am right now. He was a successful businessman. Emotionally sealed off, died before I ever had the conversation with him that I needed to have. I became him completely, right down to the part where I almost didn't course correct in time. I have now lived 16 years longer than he did. I think about that every morning. 16 bonus years. And I think, what would he have done with them? Would he have learned what I learned? I'll never know. If I could go back to 35, I would leave the office at 6 every night and mean it. I would have one career conversation with my children for every 5 connection conversations. I would tell Linda explicitly, in words, not just assumed through provision, that she was the center, not the periphery. I would quit the partnership at 55 instead of 67. I would have taken those 12 years Michael gave himself and lived them. Now here is what you can do this week, not someday, this week. Think of the 3 people who matter most to you. Write down the last time you were fully present with each of them. No phone, no mental draft of tomorrow's agenda, just there. If you cannot remember, that is your answer. If the gap is long, do not explain it. Close it. Call one of them today and make a plan that has nothing to do with productivity. Ask yourself, honestly, what are you tolerating right now that you know you will regret? The job that has you working at 9 p.m. when your kids are still awake? The relationship you're postponing investing in because the timing isn't perfect. The conversation you're avoiding because it's uncomfortable. Those tolerations are compounding silently. They will cost you more later than they cost you now. Look at your calendar for the past month. Add up the hours you spent on work that no one will remember in 10 years. Now look at the hours you spent on people who will still matter to you in 10 years. That ratio is a map of your regrets and progress. Are you making my mistake right now? Are you telling yourself there will be time later? Are you building a version of success that requires the people you love to wait for you? Because later is not a plan. Later is a lie I told myself for 27 years and almost didn't survive to correct. I'm 87. I made partner at 45. I had my heart attack at 52, and I started living at 53. That is a long time to sleep through your own life. I have 5 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren who sit on my lap, and I hold them and I think, you're the proof of everything I almost walked away from. You exist because Linda stayed and because I eventually showed up. But the cost of eventually is real. Do not wait for a heart attack to tell you what matters. You are learning this now, right now, while you still have time to do something with it. I'm 87. I learned it at 52. That is 27 years I cannot reclaim. You don't have to lose those years. You can make the choice I couldn't make until my body forced me to. Make it today. Not because I'm asking you to. Because the version of you at 87 is watching, and they are hoping you listened.